Thank you for tuning in to another segment of Koko's Loc Chronicles. The purpose of this segment is to show you how to apply the Bentonite Clay to your actual locks. Again, I'm not going to apply it to my color treated locks. I'm not really having an issue with that right now, and until I found a little bit more research to whether or not it can be used on colored locks, I'm going to just stay away from that right now for this test run. So let's get your Bentonite Clay mixture. My locks are already damp. I did wash it. I did wash my locks prior to with a clarifying shampoo. I'm switching up a few things in my regimen to see if that helps. So what I'm going to do is separate my colored locks from my black locks. And let's get started with applying the Bentonite Clay just to the actual. If your hair is not colored, then clearly you can apply it to your whole head. But again, I can't stress this enough. I don't have enough research that tells me that I can apply it to colored hair, so I'm just going to fall back right now on that. So I'm just going to begin putting the Bentonite Clay on each lock. First, I'm just going to rub it into my edges really well. And then I'm going to make sure that I get the moisture down each. I'm going to put it all over the locks. All the way down to the ends. Making sure that I get the clay on all the locks. And as you know, my problem area is in the back. Right now I'm just focusing on getting the product on each lock. Alright, so I have the Bentonite Clay on my locks. I massage it through the locks, through the roots, all the way to the tips, mainly concentrating on the actual shaft of my locks because this is the problem. This is the area that I'm having lint issues. So I'm really hoping that this works and it pulls some sort of gunk out of my locks. I don't know. So yeah, that is how you apply Bentonite Clay to your locks. What I'm going to do now is it's recommended that you leave it on for about 15 to 20 minutes. And at this point it is kind of drying out, but I don't know if I want it to dry all the way out. I think if it dries all the way out, it's going to be harder to rinse it out. As far as how it felt on my hair, I let it sit on my hair for about 30 minutes uncovered. Even at that point, it still had not dried, so I was okay with that. Not fully drying because I didn't want to make it harder for me to rinse it out. But the rinse went actually well. I can see how it was working because it looked like it expanded, especially the tips of my locks. It looks like it expanded it, which would allow the lint to freely penetrate and move on out when I rinsed. Unfortunately for me, when I did rinse the product out of my hair, although it rinsed out freely, you can't really see what the true results are until you dry your hair and until you start working through your locks and to actually see if your problem areas are taken care of. Now, one of the pros is I did notice that it did bring more of the lint to the actual surface, just like I thought it would. Unfortunately, a con for me would be that the first time I used it, it did not fully rid my hair of the lint buildup. Now, before you go writing it off, I did like how it worked, so I am willing to try it a few more times to see if it'll exactly pull everything that needs to be out of my locks. Maybe next time my focus will be solely on those 4 or 5 locks now that I'm having the issue with. I used to have an issue with a whole bunch of them. So my hair is pretty damp now. It's not completely dry. So what I did was I just got a brush here, and I was also reading up on some things that it is okay to brush your mature locks. They need to be mature, because if you go to brush locks that have not fully locked, you don't want to disrupt the pattern, or you don't want to undo all the time you've waited to try to get them to fully lock. So you can actually brush mature locks. So I just took my brush and kind of brushed through my my edges, and then I sectioned off my hair and actually brushed the locks of it. And this was recommended to me by a couple of people. Right now, as I'm doing the videos, the names are not popping out at me, but I'll go back through my emails and shout you guys out. So thank you so much for the added tips on brushing with a soft bristle brush. This one's actually like medium because I got some thick hair. So I didn't think that the soft bristles would do a lot for me in terms of, you know, brushing my locks. So I went with a firmer one, and I got this one from the beauty supply store. You know, hard bristles usually for guys. Guys use this for their brush their waves or whatever. So I stole my sweetie's brush. He's not too happy about it because he says I steal everything, but whatever.
Thanks for fessing up.
I would just get a section of locks here, and I haven't retwisted, and I would just brush through the actual locks. And this was also recommended to possibly remove any lint that might have gotten entrapped in the core of your locks as well. Okay, so my final thoughts on whether or not the Bentonite Clay was positive results or negative results. I'm still kind of on the fence about it. I can say that my not so problem locks, because I had quite a few in the back rows that were lint, just embedded with lint. But a few of those I don't see now, but all of my last row is still heavily impacted, embedded with lint. Definitely worth trying again. I'll see, you know, a few more times over the next month or so how this does for my hair. I'm going to continue to brush my locks. The clarifying shampoo, I'm going to continue to do that as well, along with my washes, ACVs, all that good stuff, all the same stuff that I was doing. But I am going to try to limit my products now and be more mindful of the color towels that I use for lint. Well, when I'm drying my locks, like this time I used a real dark towel to dry my locks, so I'm staying away from that. I've always slept in a silk bonnet, but a lot of the lint that I was pulling out after the Bentonite Clay looked like just minute fibers. Like it embedded in the lock, it made it look like it was a lot of fibers in the lock, but when I pull it out, it's only like a little speck of lint. So maybe I'm overreacting. I'm just gonna let it be. Just continue to with the Bentonite Clay a couple more times. So this is definitely to be continued. Yeah, so if your locks are not heavily embedded with lint, I would definitely recommend it. Otherwise, it may take more than 1 or 2 applications to truly see some results. And at the end of the day, if that does not work, my last option is to dye my locks, but I'm not gonna take them down. So thank you so much for all of your support through this, and I appreciate you. Now it's time to retwist all this woofiness. So I'll holler at y'all later. Bye.